Michigan, and it tastes like Jack when I'm kissing him. So I told him that I never really liked his friends. Now he's gone and he's calling me a bitch again. There's a guy that lives in a garden state, and he told me that we make it to...
How you doing all? And we are up again, and you know what time it is. It's Fun Friday, it's Cheap Date Night, and it's also Tag That Track Night. So I'm going to have to shorten that version. We're going to give it some cool look, cool acronym, and we'll shorten the verbiage down to letters. But again, Fun Friday, Cheap Date Night, because me and my crime partner Swainbo were the cheapest dates in town. We're absolutely free. We are free dates. And it is Tag That Track Friday. So today I will not forget like I did last week. And so I wanted to point out just real quick. So the Wismers, Michael and the lady Denise, have 2 shirts coming because Mike and the lady have won a total of 2 times. They correctly got all the songs and the artists. I put them up on the site or on the page. So that is in Supermex International and Supermex Nation, the group. All that is available to you. The commonality was it was music that I learned how to dance country to. I'm a 2-stepping fiend. Some of you guys may not know that. Don't let the dark skin and the easy on the name fool you. But if you live in border states, Southwest states, then you're probably going to be accustomed to or introduced to at some point dancing on the country end. And I did. So those are the songs that I learned how to dance to. A little bit of line dancing, a lot of 2-stepping. And maybe somewhere down the road I'll give you guys a little bit more. But so those are the songs that I did. Some of my country friends really liked them. Some of my other friends did not know what they were. But the whole point to the Tag That Track, and I'll just, for those of you guys that are newer over time and as we go forward, it's to give you illustration of things that I listen to, and I don't put anything on air that I don't like or that I don't listen to. I do not do that. So these are songs that I listen to that I like, current or past, and that are part of a makeup for who I am and what Supermex Nation is. And I do think, it's a big country out there, and in that big country, we have a lot of different peoples and a lot of different types of music, a lot of different arts, a lot of different whatever. We're very diverse. We're a variety. If you really look at this country overall, we're probably the most diverse country on the planet, at least in its inception when we began, because there was no other experiment quite like us. And I would say that is, and you can read into the political lines what you want here, but that quite literally makes us the most unique experiment, thought experiment, intellectual political experiment the world has ever seen. So there's your Tag That Track. We'll have it today. And so I want to get into a couple things just to catch up over the week. I was not in on Wednesday, nothing major bad, just had some instances where I could not get out of some things that I had to do, and it was going to be too late to get to the studio. So I am back, and remember, we eventually will go to a full-fledged everyday format. That's coming very soon, probably within a month or so. Okay? So here you go. Latinx. And so Brother Miller told me he said it was Latinx, but I looked it up finally. You're supposed to pronounce it Latinx, like Latino, Latina. Here's the reason why: no A, no O on the end. O is for the masculine on the end of a Spanish word. A is for the feminine on the end of a Spanish word. Latino, male, Latin person. Latina, female, Latin person. I'm teaching you for free, right? There's your curiosity stream without the charge. So Latino, Latina. Latinx is an attempt to be gender neutral. I didn't know that. Personally, I don't care. Whatever you got to do what you got to do. For me, it doesn't matter one way or the other. Okay, nobody's calling me Latina or anything, so I'm not worried about it. But so that's what Latinx is, Latin with an X on the end. Educational component for tonight. Latinx is a newer motion, newer movement by a younger, obviously, more progressive group of Latin people that don't want to be characterized as one or the other. You're going to get into, LGBT community. You're going to get into trans and all of that. I don't think that's a bad thing if that's what they want. Personally, I don't care one way or the other. It's not hurting me or harming me. And you guys do know my rule. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, so long as you're not harming another person. That's my philosophy, all right? That's what I believe the Constitution is about. That's why it's okay to have free speech, correct? One of our most fundamental rights in the Bill of Rights and in the Constitution. However, it doesn't mean you get to go into a building and yell fire, because that's dangerous, and that no longer is free speech. That is harmful. Okay, same thing here. It's not hurting me one way or the other, so I'm cool with it. Not going to matter. I don't think it's bad or good, but if there are people that don't identify the same way and maybe they want it different, cool. I'm good with it one way or the other. But again, primarily from a younger generation of Latinos, Hispanics, Mexicans, whatever you want to call them, primarily a younger group that is what they prefer to be identified with. And listen up, young group, young bloods, handle your business, do what you got to do. Again, so long as it doesn't harm another. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, baby. That's the way we are. Okay, so real quick there, wrap up. I will, for a split second. Okay, so the Jussie Smollett case. This thing is like all kinds of crazy. But here's the thing. We did four total shows dealing with race and culture in America. And we treated it and handled it in a way that very few others, meaning other talk shows, talk show hosts, etc., that I've seen cover it, because it's almost obligatory that they go one way or the other. You're going to be on one side or the other. I don't like the side thing, because there's a whole bunch of people in the middle that are confused and don't want to go too far left, don't want to go too far right. We kind of we want to hang out with Maren Morris, do something in the middle, right? Middle's not always a bad thing, ladies and gentlemen, because that's where the majority of America is. The two-party system is designed to pull that middle to the left and to the right. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, left or right. What I'm saying is the majority of us sit somewhere in the middle. I may be a little further left on some issues. I've said openly and clearly on military matters and education, I'm a little further right. But I'm a middle America. That's who I am. I'm the majority of everybody else. I may look like you or not, but I may think like you or not. I am the majority. And that's what we need to consider. So on the Jussie Smollett case, okay, let's just say it. So it's not all done. It's not all fleshed out. If the guy did it, like I said last night, because I had some people like, well, are you more Democrat or Republican? I don't give a damn. If somebody's wrong, fry him up. Put him in the pan, fry him up. Wrong is wrong. It has nothing to do with party for me. That's simple. So if this guy did what it's, because it's kind of funny. I mean, it's funny not in a good way, but I'm like, what the hell are you thinking, right? Hiring people to beat you up so you can look like a bad guy and blame the others, right? But here's the problem with this, and this is why I brought up, and let me iterate this again. The problem is that this is an instance, it's an example of a larger picture going on today in the country. All right, because last night, and I'm going to get to this in a second, last night, President Trump held a rally and he brought up Jussie Smollett. All right, and now my point to all of this, the underlying reason why we did 4 or 5 episodes on race, is because all of this ends up coming out with racial undertone. And I really do believe, with all sincerity and honesty, and I don't care where you sit, left or right, I'm going to tell you the truth. All of this stuff is beginning to boil up and becoming an issue and a problem. When you have a little girl getting run over by neo-Nazis in Charlottesville, that's a problem. That's racial undertone bubbling up, becoming an issue, and taking the form of something negative. In this case, people losing life or people doing damage, violence. That's not good. So be mindful and be aware. That's why we did the issue. That's why we did the series on race and culture in America, because I think this is going to bubble up even more. How so? In this particular case, the Jussie Smollett thing, the case was dismissed. I've watched more than my fair share of shows on this thing in particular, and I still don't know what the hell happened with regard to this particular case. On the surface, and let's just say it, it may look like, okay, they're dropping it because they don't want to make it look racial, one way or the other. I don't know. That's, for the most part, an educated guess based on the current climate. Who knows? I really don't. And we may never know, because it's highly subjective, and the best you can do is speculate. And I'm not into speculation, but I'm beginning to see, or I've already seen, because I've been bringing it up on air for at least a year now, it's pervasive. It's becoming part of the climate. It's becoming part of our atmosphere, and it's becoming increasingly more and more a problem. All right, because this is a black guy, and it looks like, they'll say we got away with OJ stuff. No, not the same thing. I heard that today, but I was like, it's not exactly the same thing. But they're saying that the wave will begin to correct itself. If you're going to attack minorities or minority folk, don't be surprised if minority folk start doing things to either defend themselves or get themselves out of things. And my point to you is, like, you guys are going to be a little baffled. They're like, what does that all mean? It's all in flux because it's ongoing. And that's why, I'm going to say it again, we did 3 or 4 episodes on just race and culture in America. It's hard to know these things because they're highly subjective and you can't get in the mind of some of these people. But the best thing you can do is understand the underlying problems that exist in our country today. And yes, they are racial. And if you think they're not, you're hiding under a rock. And we don't do that here. So be aware, be mindful. I'm going to say it again. If the kid did all this stuff, then he needs to pay. He needs to pay a price. I'm not saying Rahm Emanuel is right or wrong. I think it's kind of funny, but maybe he should. You know, billing him 130 something. I can't remember the exact number, but it was 130 something thousand dollars that they're sending to Jussie Smollett, because if he orchestrated all this and he took money away from the people in uniform, cops doing their job, then that's wrong, and he should pay a price. I don't think he's that poor anyway. He should pay that up. So either way, regardless of where you sit, it isn't a funny issue, because more and more issues like these are taking places. He's just one item, one example of many that are coming. You heard what I said, and it sounds ugly, but ladies and gentlemen, I think we have not reached the bottom yet. And that saddens me to my core, but I'd be lying if I said otherwise. There are going to be other stupid things that I see on all ends over the next year and a half before this election cycle is done. You can mark my words on that one. Okay, so we'll move on from that. I think maybe what we'll do is when Brother Crow gets here on Monday, back with a panel with Brother Miller, and I'm going to do that too. No politically correct here, right? Brother Miller's a black guy. Brother Crow's a white guy. I'm a brown guy. I sit in the middle, and we kind of hash all these things out. Regardless of the color of your skin, things need to be gotten to the bottom of. So I will bring that up, and we'll touch bases on Jussie Smollett. Not the instance, but the issue and where it goes forward. That's far more important here. That's what we do. I don't want to give you one-liners and platitudes. I want to give you principle. I want to give you things that are going to last with you. I want to give you items, information, and education that give you the ability to make good decisions based on good, sound logic, not one-liners and what's good for me through emotion at the moment. Do not like doing that. We don't do that here. All right, moving on real quick. So you heard me say, so watch this. I watched the rally in Michigan, President Trump, and tonight I watched the town hall with AOC. You're like, what? Yes, I do both. Okay, so I watched President Trump last night, and then I watched Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, today, talking about the Green New Deal. All right, here's my takeaway. I'll make it real quick because we want to get into our meat here with my homeboy Swainbo. So watching that, if you're on the right, like, how the hell can you listen to her, right? And if you're on the left, how the hell can you listen to him? Real easy, ladies and gentlemen. I place my country before my self-interest, and I place my country before my party. I even place my country, believe it or not. I think you all know that's tongue-in-cheek. I'm being facetious. I place my country before my party, and I place my country before my personal political beliefs. So yes, with the clinical eye, I watched President Trump last night, and then I watched Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez today. And the one thing, I will say, whether you want to admit this or not, okay, they both have a base. And those bases are rabid right now. R-A-B-I-D. They are rabid for what they're talking about, their issues and their items. But here's something that I want to give to my friends that are a little further to the right. Be mindful, because this little girl, and no disrespect to her, I don't know her, okay, but she's young, right? This young lady, she has a rabid following. That following is primarily young, and that young group is outnumbering those of us that are north of 40, 50, 60. So you better be paying attention. We may not like some of the things. I'm going to tell you this. I don't disagree with her. This is the one thing on some items. I got to be careful. Somebody's going to take that and make it an item, a meme or something. But I don't disagree with her on some things. Here's what I got from what I saw today on the town hall that she held. More than any other thing, she kept saying we need to start acting now. That I agree with entirely. She has a problem with Washington dysfunctionality. Sound familiar? She has a problem with waiting for people not to act. Sound familiar? I think you know where I'm going with this if you pay attention to Supermax at all. And she has a problem was sitting idly by while people do nothing. So I have said openly, and I am on record as saying it, there is such a thing as climate change. The simple fact that we are growing in number every single day, it's called population increase. We are hot, we increase heat, and we generate things that there's no question affect the larger population, including this globe. Okay, so that's a fact. It's how we do it. How do we address it? How do we issue it? I don't agree with everything she wants to do. I think some of it's like, well, okay, that's not going to happen. And I'm not saying because of inaction, but because some of it's impractical, at least for right now, and the money that we have to spend to do it. So you have me on record as that. I don't agree with everything she says, but I absolutely agree with her, and you can quote me on that, and I don't care what you do with it. Make a meme out of it. I absolutely agree with her that we need to act, and we need to stop sitting around because, watch this, ladies and gentlemen that are my age or older, young people are getting tired of waiting for old people to do the damn job. They want action now. Not a coincidence. This has happened before. It happens cyclically, and it's happening again. The item's a little bit different. It's called the Green New Deal and a bunch of other things that she talked about. But these young people don't want to wait around to they're 50 or 60, and they're dealing with some serious climate issues that are worse than they already are. So that I do agree with. Why sit around and wait? Do something. By the way, we do pay these people a lot of money. We did an item in an episode on that, correct? Over $100 and something, $170,000, $180,000 that we pay a congressman and a senator, rep senator. We pay a lot of money for them to do the big work. Heavy lifting, that's why we pay you. Get the damn job done. So again, laugh about that. Trump rally and AOC back to back for Supermex. And how? Because I can place my personal wants and my party and every other thing second to my belief in my country and us getting the damn job done. That's how I do it. Okay, so now we'll bring in my crime partner for the evening on Fridays. Wrap up synopsis for the week. But this one was in the news quite a bit. So Betsy DeVos, she is the current Secretary of Education.
Yep.
And she went to Congress and was proposing a cut or cutting, I think entirely, Special Olympics.
Right.
And I think that it was simple and easy to say that there was uproar, if not like, what the hell? What the hellism? I'm going to quote that. What the hellism on both sides, you know, Democrat and Republican, politically left and right. That was just kind of like, okay, that can't play well, that can't be good. So we're going to make this something other than that, but, you know, I want to get my input from Swainbo. So it kind of resolved itself today. What did you hear of the resolution?
Well, so what I heard was that she proposed these cuts. She had stated that she needed to make these cuts, and one of them was she totally cut out millions of dollars. I think it was like 187. It was a lot of millions of special education, and her thought process on this was, I need to make these budget cuts. And
So you said special education. It wasn't just Special Olympics.
no, it was Special Olympics. It was after school programs. It was quite a few other things.
Okay, good. So that's
Yeah.
why I wanted you.
Yeah,
So
so
that's
it
why I
was-
wanted
yeah,
to talk today.
yeah,
So it wasn't just because the
wasn't just
simple
special-
one. Yeah,
yeah.
the simple one was Special Olympics,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Boom. That's a
Right,
news
but
headline.
there was after school programs, and there were different programs in with low income areas, low income students, and so it was pretty ranging cuts, but the main one, the tagline was Special Olympics, and her statement was that, well, that's privately funded.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of money coming in from the private sector.
Correct.
So okay. We don't have to fund that.
Okay. She was saying that, and I didn't get that. So she's saying that there's money from the private sector that funds Special Olympics.
Right.
Does it fund it fully? I don't know.
I don't know either. But then
Because I have a hard time believing that.
I do too. And so, you know, it provides a great service. And so President Trump got a lot of backlash on that. And he went ahead and he took care of the problem. He said, we're going to fund it. But what's kind of interesting, though, is what I was reading about this. And I think that we all know this.
I'm making you work. Huh? You had to do some reading.
Well, you know, it's like anything. When you propose a budget, you can propose and say, I want to cut X, Y, and Z. It's got to get through Congress anyway.
Correct.
And so she put this stuff out there, and a couple days later, now she's
So
backing
what
off
I
of
saw
that.
today was, I mean, it was kind of like, you want to back that thing up, right? You got to back that thing up.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
came out like at the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
And it kind of went through like these amorphous places, like what the hell's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And in some weird serpentine way, it ends up on the Friday. It still is funded. Special Olympics. We'll talk about the rest in a second, but
Yeah.
Special Olympics is still funded.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like at the end of the week, like, what the hell did we just watch?
Yeah.
Why did that go from that back
Yeah.
to that when it was simple? I mean, this should have been a no-brainer. So my question was, and a legitimate question, if you're logic-based, in any type of rational thought, was if you put it out, if you put it on the table, if you take it to Congress and bring this up as a potential item that you're going to cut, my first question, like, does the president know about this? And if he didn't, then how the hell did it get in? Somebody should have clued him in, like the people around. Hey, homeboy, Mr. President, there's some stupid things going on here, and I'll say it. That's dumb. It was just a dumb item, right?
Right.
If these things are going on and you don't know about them, that's kind of I've had an issue. I don't beat up President Trump too often, but
Yeah.
I do say that there's some people around him that I definitely question as to what they're doing. So
Yeah.
if he legitimately, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? Because I don't know, if the president did not know, as he said, I think I saw this on there, that his people were doing this. If he didn't know legitimately, then who the hell does he have around him making these decisions? Because that was just not a smart decision.
Yeah, yeah, and there's been a lot of talk about that there's people that are around him that are feeding him different things and not.
And in this particular item, it's education.
It's
but,
education, right?
And we'll keep it there for now. But
and again, I always go back to Leadership 101. You as a leader, and you as a leader of a country, organization, whatever you're a leader of, you better know what your people underneath you are
they'll get you in a
doing.
load of trouble.
Exactly, because what happened now is, he came in and, quote, saved a day
Right.
for Special Olympics. Now, again, was that by
Design?
Design, I mean, hey, maybe
I'm going to create the crisis, then I'm going to solve it.
maybe he's a lot. I don't know. I mean,
Maybe, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. But it's just kind of interesting. And so she completely backed off of that, and it was kind of interesting because reading some previous things about her, she was always supportive of that. And
So I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing. So
Yep.
I gave you the topic, right? So right before I was coming over today, right up to the last minute, I saw this little item that she made a statement, Betsy DeVos made a statement that after the president said they're not dropping Special Olympics, they're not cutting Special Olympics, right? As soon as that happened, she came back and released a statement saying that she's always been for it. Now, here's the thing. So, like what you're saying, so if she's always been for it, then what the hell? Why are you bringing it up now? Because we do know that behind the scenes, like, it's a leadership item, right? That she's given a budget, and maybe before it even got to her, and I'm being pretty nice here. I'm being fair. Nice, fair. Maybe she got a budget, and it was earmarked in advance before it even got to her. Hey, Betsy, guess what? We're cutting Special Olympics. Deal with it, and you have to take it up to the House. You have to take it up to the Hill, and you have to tell these people that we're going to cut this. See how that goes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
She may have been, and they're like, "What's the sound of that?" I think that's the bus.
Or
I think that's the bus.
or she could have not really put it to a litmus test. And hey, since a lot of the funding we get for Special Olympics is privately, and maybe we can get private donors to step up more, this would be kind of a no-brainer, maybe an easy thing to slash.
Yeah.
But hello. I mean,
It was weird.
It was.
The course of the week was weird for me.
Yeah. When I was reading that, I was like, yeah, it wasn't too smart.
What the
it
hell
wasn't
just
too
happened
smart.
there?
'Cause,
And like I said, I do believe that there are, and I'll say this, I've said this on air, and a lot of my listeners, and by the way, you guys all know, I've got listeners on the far left, the far right, I've got all kinds of listeners. But I did state that, I had legitimate concerns coming out of this past calendar year as we went into like the government shutdown, and the president had lost, General Mattis, who, is like, that's a gold standard for us, military guys.
Right.
Mattis is a gold standard. He lost some of the others, McMaster's, I can go on and on. He lost some, and not just the military guys, but there were good people there, and he said that he was going to hire good people. I question that now openly of some of the people that are there because I'm like, man, you're getting some crazy advice. And here's the thing. You and I can only begin to know, right, the degree and the depth of the decisions that have to be made on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You can't possibly know everything and every detail about, and I'll say that because, again, that's also a military item. That's why, as a general, you make sure you have really good subordinate commanders.
Yeah.
And maybe they make a mistake that you didn't know about. You go back, you evaluate the mistake, and if it's a pattern with this individual, meaning the subordinate commander, and they're not capable of going forward in a fashion that benefits the unit or you as a leader, then you need to remove that person.
Right.
That's also a problem, by the way, in today's culture. We don't remove people for incompetency or just being weak.
Right.
Education, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen. And so this whole Byzantine week of the education thing. And I thought about it. I probably should have messaged you earlier in the week that we'd be talking about education because in general, we're going to talk a lot about
Right.
education with you because of your background, because of your wheelhouse. But I literally watched as I couldn't quite get a hard handle on it. I'm like, target. Target's moving left and right, and it's moving at a high rate of speed, and I don't know where it's going to end. It's hard to hit that target, right?
Yeah.
And I genuinely, legitimately did not know. And then that last bit that I saw today where the end result was he said, no, we're not cutting Special Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And that she responded with, I've always been for Special Olympics and other things. Yeah. And I don't believe that, or basically she was saying that she was kind of giving herself an out to say that this wasn't me.
Yeah.
I got to get that song. It wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Okay, so it was legitimately that. It wasn't me. She was letting people know that she wasn't the one that wanted to get that to Congress and go up on the Hill, but maybe she was being a good soldier and she had to go take the bullet and take it to the Hill and see if we could fly this. And if it gets some bad response, then we can always blame her for bringing it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird deal, and I don't know. So I'm sure we'll hear some more about it.
I can tell you this: we probably won't know the full extent of it.
No, we never will.
Yeah,
we never will.
That's entirely possible.
We never will.
We never will.
But it was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting with that. So, but yeah, that's going to be funded, and I don't know. This could be a tactic by President Trump. Hey, I'm going to come in and save today and score some points. You never know.
In which case, you get to the end of the week and you go into the and then so the narrative and the news cycle changes and goes to something else.
Right.
And it won't be on this. And we're just talking about it because it has to do with education, and we're going to deal with some other items to do with education today. So here's the thing. So that was just the headline was Special Olympics cut, right?
Right.
But and so for you guys, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that don't know, Swainbo's been with me a couple times now. And just the background, he's in education. He spent an entire life in education. He has been a teacher. He's been an administrator. He's been everything under the sun and worn a lot of different hats. He's got a lifetime, about a quarter century worth of knowledge of being a professional, working with the youth of our country in the trenches, dealing with kids in a lot of different capacities. So we're going to use these nights that we have Swainbo on the Fun Friday, Cheap Date Night, Tag That Track Fridays, as an expert, in the trenches. In the trenches. I always say this, like, when you hear someone talk to a military expert on an item having to do with something military, right? Invariably, what you end up having is, a 5-star, a 4-star general with a chest, it's massive. And I'm not saying that's wrong. Yeah. However, you almost never hear about the sergeant or the squad leader,
right,
the people that actually do the work in the trenches. And I'm going to say it, ladies and gentlemen, I'm one of those. There's far more of us than there are of the generals. Now, don't get me wrong, because it's ingrained in my system now and it'll never change. I'll always have that respect for a commanding general, colonel, etc., on all the way up the chain of command. But I think we've missed the boat, and then I'll digress for a second and we'll get back. But I think we've missed the boat in the fact that there are a lot of people out there that have expertise, that have actually lived this in the dirt, the people that you're making decisions for. And you kind of know how I think about that. It's you take care of your people first.
Yes, you do.
And you have to understand what is in the trenches. And I do believe that Swainbo here has been that. He's been on the leadership side. He's been in the trenches on that side. So he's had the experience of getting a wealth of information that quite literally runs the entire continuum from the far left to the far right, management and and worker. Right? I don't like doing that. I don't like business being the MO for education. I don't think it works. I think it's actually failed us.
I agree. Yeah.
So using that, using Swainbo as usual, let's talk a little bit about the other items of that I really kind of didn't get, other than the headline, how bad I am, about what they were proposing in terms, because we don't know that. All they did was say that Special Olympics will not be cut.
Right.
So what does it mean for those other programs?
Well, so I'm just going to read over here. So she was talking about, of course, a 12% or about $8.5 billion from the Education Department programs.
Wait a minute. So you're saying she proposed a 12% cut?
Yep.
To the whole?
To the whole.
Wow.
Yep. And specifically,
okay, that's not going to go over well.
So cuts included ones that supported after-school activities for children in impoverished communities, as well as grant programs for textbooks, equipment, counseling services, and other needs for schools. And then also talked about the cut to special education. So as I'm reading this, and I really kind of digress to, my life as an administrator, and I kind of sit there and I go, okay, we're cutting programs here that are what's best for kids.
12%.
12%. Yeah, and
wow.
that's huge. $8.5 billion. Why can't somebody go in there?
Let me hold you there. Let me hold you there. Consideration.
Yeah.
So we just talked for a few minutes, a handful of minutes, on the Special Olympics thing. Mm-hmm. Was that the shiny object?
I think so.
Because that's what got, and I'm guilty, ladies and gentlemen. I'm guilty. Okay,
yeah.
Shiny object, Special Olympics. Oh, that's bad. Common sense, right? Okay, you shouldn't do that. All right, so we don't do that. And in the meantime, the subtext is 12%,
$8.5 billion.
$8.5 billion.
Billion dollars.
Now, and I just said that I haven't seen that changed or altered. So, at least for right now, current today into next week, Special Olympics are probably still okay.
Yeah.
Because he said they'll be okay.
But are these other programs?
But $8.5 billion out of education overall. Mm-hmm. You get my point. Shiny object.
Yeah.
What do you assess?
Yeah. Well, like I was saying earlier,
possible, right?
Yeah, it's
if
possible.
not probable.
Yeah. And why would they hit these programs? Why wouldn't they say, you know what, we're going to do a 10% cut across the board with administrative costs?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
on that one. You know where I'm at on that.
I was going there.
You know where I'm at.
You know where I was going there. And that's the thing that just really blows me away about, and it happens all the time, whether it's with our federal government and education, whether it's state, whether it's local. We make all these cuts, and we're going to cut this program and that cut this program and that program, and it always affects kids. Why can't somebody step up and say, you know what, our administration is way too bloated, and we're going to cut out like $3 or $4 million.
You know where I'm at on that.
I know exactly. It's why doesn't somebody have the guts to stand up and look at themselves in the mirror and say, you know what? All of these little shiny objects I have around me, this is not in the hands of children. This is making me look, grand. This is my department looking grand and all this stuff. Why won't they sit there and say, you know what, we're going to do what's best for kids, and we're going to slash this administrative costs. And you know what, we're going to slash this when it comes to administration. And we're going to get this money channeled back to the children, back to the classroom, back to these programs.
Yeah.
Why doesn't anybody do that? And again, they're allowed to do it. I'll just tell you right now, they're allowed to do it because they don't get any backlash for what they have.
Because there is no repercussion.
No repercussion.
There's no recourse on the part of the average person to say, okay, you can't get away with that.
Yeah.
And one of these days, you and I are going to have a long talk, and maybe even on air, about repercussion in education system, because I've got a lot to say on that issue. We're going to talk about that eventually. Not so much right now because I want to finish our school year, but we're going to have some talk because I got firsthand knowledge, firsthand information of no repercussion and things clearly that were wrong done. short of being evil, right?
Yeah.
So in education, there is no repercussion. I mean, the system perpetuates itself. It really does. This is what I had always said that I thought the Republican Party got right. A decrease in excess and government wasteful spending and bloated bureaucracy. I believe in that. I really do. I really do. I 100% believe in that. The problem is that that's kind of in flux now, at least within the Republican Party in terms of philosophy, because federal government keeps getting bigger, and I'll say that federal government keeps getting bigger, and the power continues to get unchecked and go forward.
Right.
So Republican Party needs to get a handle on that within its own context, whether it's the president or Congress or anybody. I do think that once you get to a point where you feel that there's no repercussion and nobody can do anything to you, that by extension you will continue to do the things that you've been doing. That's education. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, so these problems are endemic. They're not just in education. Today we're speaking specifically about education, but you see how they have ramification up and down the spectrum throughout, in system, in government system. So I guess my issue is that, and let's keep this on the ball here, straight on the ball, eye on the prize, moving target. I'm thinking about the shiny object, man. I'm thinking about the shiny object now that you and I are having this discussion, because you got something, I've got something. We don't see everything exactly alike, but you're a bright guy. And without hyperbolizing, I'm not on the bottom end of the IQ spectrum. Being funny, ladies and gentlemen. But I do see those things.
Yeah.
Now, if it can move me for a second and the shiny object will catch your eye, and you're human if you do, by the way, you don't need to be just Einstein building a Rosenberg bridge. You can see legitimately, whoa, what was that? And then it takes your eye off this item here. Now I'm seriously considering, after having our conversation right now, and I'm glad we're doing this on a Friday, and we'll continue doing it on a Friday, you'll see some things that I don't. And then we'll flesh them out and talk about them. And then what we do is we elucidate, E-L-U-C-I-D-A-T-E. There's your word of the day. We will do that for you guys so that you have the ability to keep your eye on the target, not the shiny object. So Special Olympics is saved. Yay! Yay! Which, by the way, is something that shouldn't be an item anyway, but it is. And the fact that we have to talk about it takes time away from this subtext for me, which is $8.5 billion, ladies and gentlemen, billion. $8.5 billion, 12% slashed out of an education budget. And I'm going to say this, and then I'll back up to my digression with the Republican thing, the Republican Party specifically, is that we cry and complain, ladies and gentlemen, as a country, about how poorly educated our children are. We do that generically. Now, I've said openly that I don't think that's everybody or everything, but I do believe the base and the minimum standard is decreasing. I do believe that. I really do. And that's not a Republican or Democrat thing for me. I just think that's an American issue for me, is that we're not educating to the same degree for the average kid. And maybe some people want it like that. I don't know. Maybe. But if we remove that 12%, then clearly it's not going to make education better. No. The counter to that, being the devil's advocate on my right side, my right-handed devil on this side, my left-handed devil on my right. I don't have angels. I have devils. They're pulling me apart, right? They're pulling me apart.
Did you just go Animal House on me
there
right
you
now?
Go. little bit. There you go. Damn, you remember that, huh? Yeah. Okay. All right, so we got some good stuff here.
Yeah.
But my right-handed devil is telling me that education is, and you're going to probably shake your head as I'm doing this, the right-handed devil is telling me education is this big, bloated, bureaucratic, Byzantine mess in some cases.
Yeah.
All right, in a lot of cases, actually. It's true, though.
It's
true.
It's true.
So their reaction, the obligatory knee-jerk reaction, is to, well, then we shouldn't fund any, or we should stop giving them the money because they're wasting it, which is a legitimate argument. Why give people money if they're wasting it? I mean, listen, in our backyard, in our school district, they keep asking us for school bond money.
Yeah.
We're going on a third. They're going to ask for a fourth.
Yes,
They haven't built the damn school that they said they're going to build. So what do you do? That's the problem. And we talked about recourse, right? What do you do if you're Joe, Jane America, Juan America, Ricardo America? What do you do if you have no choice? You either pass another bond and give them what they want. There's a scary thing, right? Give them more of what they want so they can continue to waste and misspend tablets. Or say no And the potential is you hurt the kids in the trenches, teachers in the trenches.
Right.
That's the problem, is that there's no recourse for the average American to say, that's wrong, correct it, fix it.
Well, they know
this
that.
is it here too.
They know that recourse is they know that that's going to happen. They know that. Okay. Just getting back to our situation. Okay, if you don't pass that bond, then you're not going to get that nice, brand new, shiny high school that we just put out there. We put a nice
We're
little
gonna
video.
digress
out.
to your
We put
negotiation.
a nice video out there
Yeah.
and stuff. Oh yeah, and oh well, you know what? If you don't,
Wait a minute. There's a video?
oh yeah, there's a big news story on it where they showed the high school, a rendering.
When was that?
This was like earlier this week.
I missed it.
Yeah. Go to abc30.com news.
So clearly our
Scroll.
PR person is doing their job.
Oh, they're already they're PRing. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're already doing it, and they're getting that out to the public. And there's a lot of, they're getting a lot of fanfare.
Shiny
and
object.
a lot of people are like, oh, this is going to be great, and this and that. But here comes the hook. Here in a little bit, it's going to say, well, you know what? In order for you to have this, we need to have this bond.
Yeah. So the shiny object, and because I'm on the bond committee, the oversight committee,
yeah.
and I'm going to say this. I don't mince words, and I don't. You ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. The bond committee is a joke. The bond committee is an oversight joke. No disrespect to the fellows that are on the bond committee with me, but I think they deep down inside they know it. They may not come out on air and say it like I will.
Yeah.
I'm different. I'm a different critter. Can't you tell? We sit there. They tell us what they're giving us. It's literally it's canned, right?
Yeah.
They tell us, in essence, what they want to tell us, and we sit there and listen, and then we go.
Yeah.
We have no input. We have no recourse. We have no ability to change anything. We have no ability to say, oh, you're going to build a high school that's planned. It's supposed to be open in 21, less than 2 years.
Yep.
In 2 years, it's supposed to be constructed. You're going to build this high school 2021. It's not going to be complete. It's going to take 3 phases.
Right.
Phases meaning, and I don't even know the particulars because they're not all fleshed out. They don't give us that. They change the subject when I start asking the questions. And then I sit there and I look like the bad guy in the group because
Right.
nobody wants to be there all day because we're all doing this for free.
Right.
So I never get a real answer. 3 phases. Those phases could each take a year to who knows how long, each phase. And and it's already 3 phases, by the way.
Right.
So in each of those phases, what we've been sold as a public is that the community is getting a brand new high school in 2021, but it's a shell of a high school. It's going to be literally just the academic buildings. All the other moving parts are not in place. The pool,
Right.
which is a running joke in my district,
Right.
and all these other components are not going to be done until multiple phases have completed. We have no hard line on those phases when they're going to be completed or how they're going to be completed because they're going to come back and ask for another bond. And what they're going to do is put the community, me and you, as people who care about our damn community, my district. This is all for all of you guys, by the way. It's all education. And they're going to put us between a rock and a hard place and say, look, we started building it, but we need more money.
They're going to pit us against each other.
That's already being done, by the way.
It is.
You do know that.
Because my side as a teacher, and
We're going to have to get the fighter's voice to referee us.
yeah,
You hear that, KP?
Yeah.
I'm plugging the fighter's voice.
yeah, but they're gonna pit the educators against the community.
That's being done now.
I know, and
That's being done now.
it's gonna continue to go, and it's just at the start right now.
Yeah.
And they're gonna say, well, you know what, we're proposing this much of a raise because we need to put money aside for a high school, and if we give you this raise or if we do this or do that,
Then it jeopardizes-
the high school, and then everybody's in an uproar.
Let me
Yeah.
cut through that mess real quick, real simple. Like I have a 50 cal, and my veteran homie's like, I got a 50 cal. I'm gonna line that baby up, and I'm gonna cut through everything. Literally, a 50 cal will cut through everything. Or if it's an A10 Warthog cutting through enemy lines. Love the Warthogs, man. Those dudes are bad.
Yeah.
This is how we do that because it's about education and conversation and informing people. We'll continue to do that here. And in essence, that's kind of why you're here. Not just for your negotiation,
Right,
but
right.
you know where I'm at with,
Right.
with class size reduction, facilities that are as good as everybody around us.
Yes.
I have a hard time believing that in our particular backyard, in our district, or anywhere in America, ladies and gentlemen, that with the amount of money, this goes to the Republican point, right? With the amount of money we spend on education, that we can't get the education that we deserve.
Right.
I have a problem with that. So I have a problem with them saying that, oh, we can't give you guys a raise that is competitive with everybody in the region, even if not number one. Okay, if it were my way, you guys would be paid best in the region. Period. You want the best, pay it, right? I love the way people like talking about business when it suits.
Yeah.
That's business. Give them the best, get the best.
Right.
So you guys would get that. But here's the problem, is that in the community, that's what they're telling people, that if you guys keep asking for raises, then they're not going to be able to build a high school. They should have been able to build a damn high school decades ago, because we've been waiting 21 years since the last one was constructed. 21 years. I have a fundamentally hard problem, and even though I'm a little brighter than average, thankfully, and I do see through some of this because I've been around education a little bit longer. I live in the community. I've grown up here. My family's generations here. I'm telling people openly, do you really, really believe that the housing market crash in 2008 is the only reason that we don't have a new high school? When all you have to do is look around you and all these other...
Everybody else is doing it.
Everybody else has been building.
Everyone else
so
was
why
building.
is it just us
Right.
and our unique,
Yeah.
my wife likes this, our own little alternate reality? We are in a separate universe all by ourselves where the housing market affected our community more than every other community across the globe.
Right, yeah.
How does that happen?
How did that happen?
It doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Exactly.
So it was, there was fiscal mismanagement, waste, spending that wasn't, we all know that, okay? I'm laughing about this thing because we talk about the tablets. You said they don't want to drop it. Those tablets, $10 million. You know what that could have built us? That could have put a pool in at the West Campus and a whole bunch of other things. I'm just like speculating because I'm dealing with, my daughter's in swim. She had a swim meet today.
Yeah.
And we have 15, 16 elementaries. We have 3 middle schools and one big mess of a high school spread out over 10 miles, multiple campuses, 3 campuses. And we couldn't build one pool. I've seen blueprints. I've done diligence on my part, my due diligence, for 3 to 5, 5 being the top end. You can build a state-of-the-art, incredible facility. It'd be the envy of the region. Oh, scary thought, right? That we'd actually have something like that in our backyard. You could have done that for 4 to 5, even less. You could have done something functional at 3.
Right.
So 3 to 5 million, and you've got a pool at the West Campus. Another 5 million out of those tablets that were wasted. Who knows what else you could have done? And that's just in sport.
Right.
I can't even begin to tell you what I would want to do in curricular benefit in terms of classes and training and moving the needle for the kids in the classroom. I can go on and on.
Yeah.
My point being is that it's about waste and it's about mismanagement of funds. It's about something like this, looking at $8.5 billion, 12% out of a total budget. That is still on the table, at least as of tonight, as you and I are discussing.
Right. That was the last.
So America, you need to hear that.
Yep.
$8.5 billion, 12% of an entire budget that is going to get slashed. Now, how in the hell? I do understand, because I do this, even though for my own personal finances, I don't give a damn. But with other people's money, some people say I got it wrong. I say I need to be able to take care of myself first. I don't. It's the way I'm structured. I will always err on the side of not hurting somebody else's penny. Yeah. Even though it's always about other people's money, right? Go get other people's money. I don't like doing that. I've never been like that. And you definitely shouldn't be like that in government or education, because it's people's money. So if they take that away, we can generically say there's no logical fallacy here. It's a fact. It's rational. If we remove 12% of the overall education budget, education doesn't get better as a whole. The kid in the classroom doesn't get better. I think the only, and this would be a more right-wing argument on my end, the only rational thought to doing that is that we force, in an ugly way, we force education to have to get better about how they spend their money.
Yeah.
What's your thought?
Well, and
Because you've managed budgets.
yeah, and I agree, but here's the deal though.
Push back on me. I want you to.
Well,
I want you to.
No, and this is the way I look at it, is that our representatives, the people that we put into office, our congressmen, our senators, everybody up the line, up the chain, whether it's state government, whether it's federal government, these people need to hold the education department, they need to hold them accountable.
Correct.
Why, and ultimately, Congress is going to have to pass these cuts. Okay?
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of debate, and there's going to be a lot of decrease, and let's move this, and let's put this in instead of this. This is just the beginning. There's a lot of haggling when it comes to that. But ultimately, it's accountability. Why can't we have our government come back and say, you know what, I'm going to give you this money. I want the accountability. I want to see the accountability and hold these people to the fire.
Yeah.
You don't see that.
I know.
You don't see that with it. Look at high speed rail. Look at high speed rail. So, high speed rail, and again,
That was a boondoggle.
Whatever your thoughts on it,
That was a boondoggle.
Yeah, but look at all these billions of dollars. Where's the accountability? Gone. That's
That's the crazy thing. It's like
Yeah.
this massive number.
Yeah.
This massive number, this amount of money.
Yeah.
That could fundamentally change the lives of billions of people.
I agree. Yeah.
Where did the money go? Where is it at?
Yeah.
I think I'm with you on that. And I don't even think it's pushback.
No.
It's you and I having dialogue, we're having a
Yeah,
conversation.
right.
This is argument, by the way. This is argument. Argument's not always bad, ladies and gentlemen. It's dialogue, discussion. It's the old salons of the 1600s. This is where you sit down and you toss about hard items that are issues that are not getting better, that will not solve themselves, and you face them down quite literally by having a damn good discussion. Here's ultimately, I want to crystallize for the listener and audience. It always and should end up with, and I'm regretting this because maybe I should have put this on a campaign sign. I talked about selfless service. I talked about these cheese ball items, man, and I got beat, right? But maybe I should have just said, because somebody told me this the other day, there was another guy that got elected. He's the only other vet that got elected this last cycle.
Uh-huh.
All right, he got elected. I think his on his signs, he just put accountability.
Yeah, I was just going to say accountability.
And I'm like, damn it.
yeah, accountability.
Damn it. Because,
Yeah.
I'm an accountability guy.
You are.
Because I will
Yeah.
take no damn excuse for right or wrong, and I don't give a damn if my brother, my homeboy, my best friend, whatever, what I'll do.
Yeah.
Hell, yeah. And here's the thing that I tell people is like, you're a friend. You've become friends with me over a long time, right? We've gotten to know each other.
Yeah.
But I think you, as well as a lot of others that count themselves my friends, know better than to put me in a position where I'm going to make a decision like that. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you would know that. Like, okay,
Yeah.
that ain't going to fly. He's my buddy, but if I bring it to him, he's probably going to laugh about it and tell me, get the hell out of the room.
Yeah.
Because that's what good friends do, is they don't put each other in position to have to make those ugly decisions because they're wrong
Yeah.
on the surface and you correct them in advance.
Yeah.
So here's my thought, and this is like to America, right? It is about accountability. It's if the national government, the U.S. government puts out money for this thing, this arbitrary thing, this hard thing actually, education, right? Educating our youth so we have a more informed, knowledgeable populace that has the ability to think and chew gum, walk at the same time, right? But do all these things and maintain our status as the world's number one, I don't even like saying superpower, but I like saying intellectual power on the planet, socio-intellectual power. I'm on the words tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I've been reading SAT words. All right. All right. A socio-intellectual power. That's what we are.
Yeah.
We were at our best. We are at our best when we're an intellectual and a society moving power. I'm going to say this on air because like we can kick your ass, rest of the world, but we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to.
Right.
Walk softly, carry the big stick, right?
Of course.
We can, but you're going to want to work with us because we're going to extend you an open hand invitation to do it the right way. That's the problem with what we're talking about right here, is that we put this money out as a government, we put this money out into this country called education, and then it's like, there it is. I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
I'm spending money on education.
Yeah.
Okay, let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
The end result is 2019. You and I are having a discussion about not good in education.
Right.
Because people have not put the strings and tied those strings to it and held accountability to the people spending the money.
Yeah.
And that goes right back to the most fundamental aspect. A principal like you in a budget meeting with your staff, okay, no, yes, I'm sorry, can't. Oh, yeah, we got to do that. This is new. We're going to try to include this, but how do we include something new if we don't have more money and we got to get rid of something else?
Yeah.
That's the simple. But that lack of recourse, and I keep saying that for Joe America out there, that lack of recourse for people doing it the wrong way, I think that more than any one thing, that would, and I think maybe you were getting that earlier, that would solve probably all the most important items with how we spend the money if there was a penalty, and I'll say it, if there was a penalty for how people did their job and how they spent the money that the taxpayer gives them to do their job. Because right now there is no accountability.
No, there's not. And if education, I'm not saying that education needs to run like a business, but if you had education that was ran like a business, meaning the accountability, okay? If you're an owner of a company and you have a person in your company who is stealing, who's not making the right decisions, who is, okay, let's put money off to here, but it's not, it's not raising our it's not increasing our profits, whatever.
Not getting the job done.
Not getting the job done. Where's that person going to be? That person's not going to be working there much longer. That person's going to be out. They're going to be fired. But in education, you don't have that.
Yeah.
And people kind of go back and go, oh, well, teachers have tenure and stuff like that. The whole thing with tenure was, because, you had administration who would go after teachers because they didn't like them or whatever. And so that kind of evolved into tenure. The way I look about tenure, I don't care if I have tenure or not. I really, when I went back in the classroom.
Most good teachers do.
Yeah. And most, we don't. It's like.
I'll say the majority of teachers don't care.
Yeah. I don't, doesn't even cross my mind because I know I'm doing the best job that I can and I'm doing what's best for kids.
Yeah.
But here's the deal with administration. It just seems like, you know what? Oh, you screw this up? Hey, let's give you a promotion. Oh, that's okay. You pissed away $15 million on something. It's okay. You know what? It's okay. And that just steamrolls. And now we are in a situation with our district, with our country, where, okay, we're going to have to make budget cuts, or we're going to have to go back to the public and ask for more money so that we can get what's best for kids. When does it stop?
What's funny is okay, so, and I got to get on time. Well, let me encapsulate that a little bit. So you say our country and our district, local, where we are, right? Yeah. Where I live, where you work. It is coming to a head that way. Because I'm one of those that I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm expletive. Tired.
We are too.
Of listening to the damn excuses.
We are too.
For why you're not educating my kids in this system. Mm-hmm. Okay? And you know me well. It ain't my kid. My kids are fine. My kids are going to be fine personally. I'm talking about my kids.
Yeah.
The ones that grew up with me, the ones that live where I live, the ones that I go to Central Liquor down the street, get a couple tacos, talk to a young blood. Mm-hmm. I go down to the Save Mart, and there's these kids that are doing their thing, trying to stay out of trouble. Believe it or not, some actually try. Okay? That's what bothers the hell out of me. And it all ends up being this. We're putting out money. Where is the result? My thing is this. Instead of having people in the trenches, a parent, a teacher, fighting with each other, it's that happy, ugly gray area in there between where the money's coming from and the top leadership and people in the trenches. Somewhere in between there's a not good disconnect. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say it, and you can quote me. They're going to think I hate them all. I don't hate them all. The ones that are doing a damn good job, it's you guys that are not, and you're not. You're the ones that don't like me or don't like me going on air and saying it. But somewhere in that administrative level, somewhere slightly between site, meaning schools, like getting to the principal and then beyond them, up to the superintendent and the school board, in that mosh. Because, by the way, in our school district, we've changed school board members. They've changed teachers in the trenches. The problems persist. Mm-hmm. So if the problems persist, ladies and gentlemen, then by deduction, the problems have to lie somewhere in that middle range, because if we've changed board members, we've changed superintendents, we've changed people in the trenches, the kids change every 12 years, parents change, then the problems are persisting. Therefore, ergo, the problems lie somewhere in the middle, in that gray area with people that people generally don't know, meaning the public generally don't know who they are. Mm-hmm. And they have a nebulous face that nobody can point to and say, it's that guy's fault. They persist. Therefore, the problems persist. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to stop there because we got to get to Tag That Track, as usual. Thank you very much.
Yes, always
Tim
a
is
pleasure.
going to be an ongoing guest with me. We're going to have these hard-hitting discussions. And I think, Tim doesn't want to talk specifically about politics all day. And I said something on air. I did a little blurb today on a 3-minute. I'm listening to my homeboy KP. I did a 3-minute little teaser cast kind of thing where I talked a little bit about what we're going to talk about tonight. And I mentioned that I will use you. I will use you in a fashion that benefits me because you will provide me with a look that is not partisan or political.
Right.
You're a regular guy doing a regular job for a quarter century. You're still in the trenches dealing with kids. I need your perspective to give me balance to the things that I see, because I do see too much of it. It's ugly. All right, so you'll provide me with that perspective and what we do in terms of the Supermax Nation on the Friday nights. So Tim can comment in a political fashion, but it's going to always be centered from a place of what's best for kids and what's best for people in education and just regular folk. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not trying to be an expert on everything, but I am trying to give you a look at what America is from the people that are actually living this country. Not the people thinking they're making decisions, or the media that sees one view because they don't live it anymore, or politicians that see one view because they don't live it anymore. Sound like a coincidence? It isn't. It's the same thing. People that don't know because they don't live what you and I live. That's why Supermax Nation exists. So let's get to it. Tag that track, ladies and gentlemen. So you're going to get the theme, and I'm getting kind of cheap here about the theme thing. I think I'm just liking telling you guys, because as long as you get the songs, I'm in a good mood about it. As long as you get the songs, because what I'm doing is it's education in a way. I'm educating you on music maybe you don't listen to normally, not always the same stuff. Some of you guys do kind of get it, and maybe it's music that you listen to growing up, but I'm also trying to bring you music that's current and from my past and from the body of America, right? Our entire, back to about the 50s, 60s, 70s, because prior to that, it was the big band era, and popular music wasn't the same fashion or form. So it'll be primarily after that. So this is what I've got. So I'm just going to tell you. I just want to bring it up. So tonight, after last week, I told you that the music was music that I learned to two-step to when I was a young buck in Germany, and music that reintroduced me to country in a good form, where I got to go downtown and hang out with some good-looking ladies and dance a lot. What's wrong with that? That's a good thing. There's nothing evil going on. But so music that I learned to dance to. So while I was constructing that list last week, I ended up running into some things that I'm like, some artists, and like, oh man. And I was going to include them in last week's list, but I kept them separate because a couple of them are on here tonight, and they are females. So tonight's list will be entirely female.
Okay.
And this is music that I got out of primarily into the 2000s, when I said that out of the grunge and alternative and hip-hop rap scene out of the late 80s into the 90s, it was the zeros that saw, the late 90s into the zeros, that saw the rise of the female superstar, diva. Because if you said some of the best artists and the most well-known artists on the planet right now, a lot of them are female. Yeah. This is when females really started kicking ass. Apologies, but females really started kicking ass on a worldwide level. And the superstar diva, we've had divas forever, okay? But these superstar women in pop and other that morph from country, from rap, from other into pop, this is what I took from some of the best female music out of the zeros. All right, here we go, guys. Let's get this right. Loud.
Right now, he's probably slow dancing with a beach blonde tramp, and she's probably getting thirsty. Right.
That's enough for you. All right. Okay, next. That was too easy.
That was easy.
Songs that give you the title in the the opening bars. I mean, that's way too easy. But I mean, even if you don't listen to that type of music, everybody knows that. That's an easy one. All right, next. It's my daughter's favorite artist.
I say I'm too late. Got nothing in my brain. That's what people say. That's what people say. I don't.
Okay, my daughter's favorite artist. Another beast, powerhouse, still around doing it big.
Here's the thing. We started out friends. It was cool. We saw pretend. Yeah. Since you've been gone. La, 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 la.
Hold on a second. That last one currently on The Voice, by the way. All right. That one's not too bad looking, by the way. That one's not too bad looking. Actually, they're not. None of them are really bad looking. Kind of works that way, right? If you're going to be a famous pop singer like worldwide, you're probably not. You're probably kind of good looking, maybe. All right, here we go. Some of these are giving the titles away. This is not good. This is not good. But it was just like it's songs that these are songs that my daughter grew up with because she was born in the zeros, and that I was listening to at that time. And I was telling my son because he's a little older than her. I was like, these women are really doing something that they're like owning the industry now. I really do feel out of those zeros, they own the industry.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're a guy. How many individual guys do you see out there like at the top? Not a lot. Maybe they spike up for a little bit, but you don't know them. They're not the household names like these women have been.
Very
All right, here we go. Next one. Love that song. Not her most well-known piece, but this is one of my favorites from her. I love this song. I can listen to this song all day, literally. And then the second piece from another artist that goes with her. See if you guys really get that. Some of you may not. All right. Almost done. And this one was like a personal favorite for me and my son. We used to love singing, you know, her. Oh, man, she was phenomenal. Unfortunately, no longer with us. I'm giving away too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a musical genius. That one, she was something. All right, two more. Throw you for a loop. See, I told you I listen to a lot of different types of music. I forgot about that. Okay, so it's either giving the title or it's giving the artist, you know. But I always like that line because I heard people's like, she make a man want to speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying? For you guys out there, you guys like, she make a man want to speak some Spanish, boy. You know, yeah, she's a good-looking woman. You know the deal. All right. This one actually, of all of them, this is my personal favorite.
Okay.
Of all of the women out of the zeros that I thought rocketed to the top and that own the industry and that are worldwide and make gazillions of bucks, this is my favorite, and this is my favorite song from her. It's not her most well-known, but it is definitely my favorite because I think I remember telling my son this. When we heard this song the first time, because it was on this album, right? I heard this song and I was like, that one's a hit 20 years ago. That's a hit 20 years from now. And he goes, wow, that's deep, Dad. And I was like, because it is. It's a quality lyric, a quality construction of a song in terms of the music of it is timeless. And I honestly believe that. You can take this song, run it back 20 years, it's a hit. You could run it forward 20 years, it's a hit. Simple lyric, great, you know, and I'm not a female, but I would talk to women and they're like, just saying what I'm thinking, you know. And she ain't bad looking. She ain't bad looking. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Why is she his favorite? Well, she ain't bad looking. Well, that's for sure. All right, so those are your 10 for the night. Wrapping up Tag That Track Friday. And those are 10 that I thought, and by any means, ladies and gentlemen, not comprehensive. Not comprehensive, because I do listen to a lot. But this is a good cross-section / look. You have a little bit of not just traditional pop, but you have some country, you have some rap, you have some soul, you have a little bit of everything. And by the way, it's all encased in this one massive monster called pop, radio-friendly stuff that gets to the mass, right? Gets to the mass of people. But it's a cross-section. They look a lot different. They sing a lot different. They even sound different in terms of the language. But a good cross-section of women out of the zeros that I thought moved the industry, moved the music industry to where it is today. So that, for some of you guys that are younger, is not a big deal to you. You grew up with it. But this quite literally is for some of my older set, some of you guys that are more my age and Swainbo's, and you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe even the 60s and 70s, and you don't listen to a lot of today. This is a good cross-section of quality music that can quite literally be timeless. These will be well received, if not played, 20, 30, 40 years from now. So that's for you guys out there. Remember, I've always said, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to force you to grow intellectually, if not just artistically and socially. I will force you to do so because I put time and effort into wanting you to grow intellectually, artistically, socially. That's Super Mex Nation for the night. I will see you guys back on Monday. As usual, be safe, be careful, don't do anything. Well, do some things I would do and don't do all the bad things that I would. But you guys have a great weekend. Be careful. Look forward to seeing you on Monday. Thank you, Swainbo.
Thank you.
Super Mex Nation is out.
Good night.